You're listening to Bigfoot Society podcast, hosted by our captain, Jeremiah Byron, where it's all Bigfoot all the time. Have you ever had the urge to do more, to be more? Now you can by joining Bigfoot Society on the Patreon. Get ad-free episodes and even member-only episodes. Take part in movie night and even live video chats. Interact behind the scenes with Jeremiah and other Patreon members like me, Leia. The powerful podcast goes on, and you may contribute a verse in our Patreon community. Carpe diem. Seize the day, Bigfooters, and make your lives extraordinary.
Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show. The following set of accounts was received via the Bigfoot Society voicemail from Dave in Ohio. Thanks, Dave, for sending all this over. It's some incredible accounts. First time they've been shared. If you'd like to share your accounts in this format where you're not in an interview, but you are just sharing through voicemail, you can go to speakpipe.com/Bigfoot Society. It's important to know that each voice message is only 5 minutes long. So if your account is very long, which is great, and include all the details you can of the event, just send in multiple voicemails and I'll get them all in order. Don't worry about that. All right, let's get to Dave. Thanks for leaving a voicemail, Dave.
Wow, this is pretty cool, man. My name is Dave. I'm from Clark County, Ohio. I'm 65 years old. And I'm the dummy that had a slew of activity throughout my life and didn't figure it out until I finally watched Finding Bigfoot in 2013. And yeah, like me, like a lot of other people tuned in to Finding Bigfoot, nothing else was on TV. I was going to make fun of these guys. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, one person after another is talking about things that they experienced, and they mirror exactly what I went through. So after seeing a couple shows, they had an all-day marathon, actually a whole weekend marathon on Finding Bigfoot that weekend. After seeing a few shows, I figured it out, man. It was Bigfoots that I was having experience with. One of the encounters that happened with me happened while I was working at Perfilon Lawn Care. They laid us off in the wintertime, and they paid us a little bit of money, and we'd combine the money with the unemployment, and we get about 85% of our check. Well, I'd take this opportunity to go to these new Meijer department stores. They were popping up all over the Springfield, Dayton area. As a matter of fact, there's like 5 total. I went from Springfield, my hometown, down to Dayton area. I believe it was either Beaver Creek or Kettering. Remember, at this time, I was not Squatch conscious, so I couldn't recall everything perfectly. I went down there, and I'd go down there late at night because Meijer's was open 24 hours a day, and I was buying these cassettes, jazz cassettes from Blue Note Records and other places that I couldn't find anyplace else, but they were cassettes, and it was cool because I'd buy the cassettes and ride around out in the country by myself, between my home and between Dayton and Springfield, and make a couple 2-3 hour trip out of it. Well, one of these evenings, I went to Meijer's, got the cassettes, go out to my car. I go to drive away from the Meijer parking lot, and I got to urinate. And I'm not the type of guy to go back in, park the car, go back inside Meijer's. So I thought, well, I'll just go around the back of Meijer's, and I'll urinate back there. I pull in back there. Meijer's happens to share dumpsters with about 5 or 6 other businesses in this little mini mall area, like a little strip mall. They must have had 5 or 6 dumpsters, and they were all clustered together. And it's in the wintertime. It's like January, middle of January, I believe. And I get out to urinate, and I start hearing noises to my left over by these dumpsters. And these dumpsters are probably about 40, 50 yards away from me, to my left. And I get done urinating, get back in my car, and when I shut my car door, I'm looking at these dumpsters. Around the corner from the dumpsters comes a huge hairy figure. I figured this one to be the male. Another one peeks out from beside the dumpsters, like on the right side, and it slowly makes its way around. And once that slightly smaller one is standing there, and I don't know what to think. After those two are standing there, from around the other side of the dumpsters comes this little one. and it leaps up into these big green dumpsters and pulls itself up with one left hand into the dumpster. And I'm watching this wondering, what the heck am I seeing? I can hear it rifling around. Next thing I know, it starts throwing things out of that dumpster, and these what would be adult Bigfoots are catching it. I must have watched these things for about 5 or 6 minutes as that little and another little one came around. So there was 4 total, got into that dumpster and was throwing things out to the adults. Man, I didn't know what to think. Remember, I was not Squatch conscious because this was in the year, I worked the peripheral on from like 88 to 94. So it was in between that time period, probably like 91, 92. But I'll never forget that. True story. My very first encounter happened in 1969 at John Bryan State Park. I was 10 years old. It was August. We had relatives come up from Kentucky. It was unusual for 2 reasons. Number one, we had a late start at the picnic, and the reason is we had to rent that shelter house. It's the one shelter house in the very back where everyone wants to get. There's a field there you can play in, and it's like surrounded on 2 sides by John Bryan State Park. Also, the other significant thing is when we first got there, we got the very first parking space. Not a big parking lot, kind of a long, stretchy pencil-like type thing, and we parked there, and that put me like a side view to these woods. Well, we're at the picnic. When the picnic gets started, there's this stinky dumpster, and it's not a big green dumpster like we have nowadays. It's a dumpster that's like square, about 5 feet high. It's got like metal. It's a metal dumpster, but around the metal is like these big boulders that are attached to it. Then around the boulders are like big steel cables. Well, this dumpster stunk so bad, the adult males attempted to scoot it out of the way so it would be downwind. They couldn't budge this thing. I'm 10-year-old Dave thinking, I'm going to help. I'm pushing on the dumpster. It's not moving. So they found a bunch of big pieces of cardboard, and they piled on top of that dumpster and tamped down the smell. I immediately go with my sisters from the picnic area or from the shelter house. At the shelter house there, you have a shelter house, then you have a concrete patio, then you got the woods. You get to the edge of the patio, and in the actual woods itself, you have these wooden steps which go down about 40, 50 feet to get to the walk-around area. We go down the steps, we walk around. The path goes straight ahead about 20 yards. You turn to your right. You go about, oh, man, this is Dave again. I wasn't sure where I left off on the story. I was messing with my cats. I'm at John Bryan State Park. My sisters have already taken me down to look for Tarzan vines. I didn't see any. I go back up the steps. Becomes 8:30 at night, time to leave. I said, Mom, can I go down and check for Tarzan vines one more time? I'm thinking for sure she's going to say no. She didn't say no. I'll go down the steps. There's nobody in the woods. I start to take a few steps ahead. Something peeks out from my left side from behind a tree. I see a big hairy half face. It peeks out and jerks its head back, and I'm thinking, I did not see that. A couple more steps ahead. Same thing happened. To my left, at a tree. A tree's about 15 yards off the road. Maybe 15 feet. It's not very far. Tall tree, medium size, got bushes around it. This thing peeks out from the same side of its right side of the tree. I see a half a hairy head, big eyeball, hairy face. It's way up there. I'm thinking, what the heck am I looking at? I'm wondering why its arms and legs aren't wrapped around the tree. What's this human being doing staring at me in the woods? And it's kind of dark in the woods, get rid of sunsetting. I take a couple more steps. It happens again. It happened 2 times on the right side, on its right side of the tree. Then as I get to the end of the path here, before I have to turn right before I get to the end, it peeks out again. So I see it twice on its right, twice on its left. It is to my left. This big hairy head peeking out, half a face, a big eyeball. He's surprised at me. I get to the end of the path, and I'm getting ready to turn right to really search for these Tarzan vines. And I'm thinking, I'm going to turn and face that tree. I'm going to wait on this thing, see if it's still doing it. I'm waiting on this thing to peek out from the tree. It peeks out again, and this time I get a great look at it. Its eyeballs are super surprised that I'm looking at it. I see that half a face, big hairy head, hairy face. It jerks its head back again. I only get like a real quick look at it, but I saw it plain as day. Remember, I saw it 4 times already. I take that right-hand turn down the path, walk to the end of the path. It's about 30, 40, 50 yards ahead. I'm looking all over the place for the vines. I don't see no vines anywhere. Pivot, come back around, think I better get back. It's getting really dark now. No one else is in these woods at all. I walk to the end of the path where I have to turn left to head towards those steps, to go back up those steps to get to the patio of the shelter house. I'm waiting again, looking at this tree. This thing peeks out again from its left side of the tree, and it's to my right now because I'm facing the other way. I see it plain as day. I get a good quick look at that head, big hairy head and face. It's way up there. And I'm thinking, okay, now I know I saw that. And I'm thinking, I cannot tell anybody. If I tell my mom, she'll never let me go into the woods again. I proceed to walk ahead, and it actually peeked out again another time from the other side of the tree, and I caught it again peripherally, this time jerking my head to the right. I go back up the steps. We finish packing up, get to the parking lot. Remember, I'm in the very first slot. The spot we had parking-wise, is facing straight ahead towards the shelter house. Shelter house is just slightly to my left. I'm sitting in the back seat of my mom and dad's car. My sister's to the left of me, talking out the left side back seat passenger window to somebody. My sisters love to talk. They're about 5 years older than me. My two parents and my other sister are in the parking lot to my right, yakking away at the relatives. When you leave and how long do you think it'll take you, blah, 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 blah. It's dark now, but I can still see that patio because at that shelter house, at the very tip top of the shelter house, there's one single light bulb. Same type of light bulb you screw into a lamp at your house. It's kind of dim, but I can see. I'm staring ahead at the patio, just spacing out, thinking about what a great day it was. Up from those steps, which the steps are in the woods, I got a side view now of the woods. Up from the steps jumps this humongous, hairy, furry thing. I immediately look to my right. No one's looking. This big, hairy, furry thing, which is a Bigfoot, I didn't know at the time, it jumps up on this patio. It's in like a linebacker stance with his knees bent, his arms out. It whips his head left, right to look for humans. I could remember seeing the hair between its right ear and its right shoulder whipping back and forth like a hippie. It's 1969. I'm thinking some hippie dude, but it wasn't. This was no human, man. This was a Bigfoot. I mean, it was hairy head to toe. Big, tall, black, brownish thing, man. It immediately runs to this dumpster. And by the way, the parking lot that I'm sitting in is about 35, maybe 40 yards from the patio and the shelter house, and I'm looking at this. This thing trots around to the backside of the dumpster, and I can barely see it now because I've kind of got a side view and it's real dim. And this thing starts rifling through the dumpster. It sounds like God has a stirring stick that's going around and around. Brrr, and I'm looking at the adults. No one's looking. And it's loud. It's loud. No one's looking but little Davy boy here. This thing then takes this dumpster, picks it up to about shoulder-high head level, turns it upside down, slams it onto the concrete, boom, boom, ba-doom. And I'm looking at the adults, and the adults barely look over their shoulders. They take a quick glance and go back to talking. I'm thinking, how can they not be interested? I'm stunned. I'm stunned. And I hear this thing rifling through the trash, rifling through. Well, I stood there. We sat there in the parking lot for another 5 minutes or so. No one's looking. I said to my mom, Mom, what is that? My mom said, oh, they probably just come to take out the garbage. I was stunned. I'll finish here more in a second. 5 minutes are up. Fantastic. This is Dave again, Clark County, 65 years old, Springfield, Ohio. I want to tell you about the encounter I had. The year was 1998. I was going to Stops Bodybuilding Gym, worked out there from like 9 to 11:15. Ate my baked potato, ate my tuna, left the place, decided to go to the UDF ice cream store and gasoline place in Enid, Ohio. Stops Bodybuilding Gym is in Fairborn. It's about 10 minutes to Enid. So I stop at the UDF, get the milkshake, go to leave. I'm in my big black Cadillac, 1972. It's 11:30 at night, spitting snow, January again. And I think, I want to eat my milkshake nice and slow. I'm going to take Snyder Road instead of taking the main road so I can take these country back roads and enjoy this milkshake. I take the right out of UDF, go across, I'm on Snyder Road, go across one set of railroad tracks. It's a real tight turn. It's like a little S turn. You got to go like 5 miles an hour. Pitch black, spitting snow. I stop, and I believe it's the first or second tracks to stop, stir my milkshake. I love milkshakes, man. If you know me, I love milkshakes. I check my rearview mirror, make sure no one's coming, put my car in neutral, start to stir this milkshake, and a rock hits my car from the right side. It's my Cadillac, man. Pitch dark out there. I look to my right, out the passenger side window, and it's pitch dark. I mean, there's no light anywhere. The dirt below, which sits about 3 feet below where the railroad tracks are, it's pitch black. No lights, nothing. So I lean over to the passenger seat to see if I can see if there's someone there. And I'm thinking, well, who would be out here at 11:30 at night throwing a rock at my Cadillac, colder than heck, like 24, 25 degrees, spitting snow. As I'm leaning to my Cadillac seat, passenger side, on the seat with my right elbow, behind my car, about 15, 20 feet off the road, and behind my Cadillac, sitting off the road about 15, 20 feet, maybe 30 feet, there's this big head up in the air. It's way up there. It's lit up. Not the head lit up, but the face is lit up. And it's like it's got its back to me. It's looking over its right shoulder and baring its teeth like, rrr, 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 and no sound coming out. But that's what it was like. It was like looking over its right shoulder, baring its teeth. The face is lit up. Guys, this is not eye shine. This was face shine. It did it like 3 or 4 times. Finally, I straightened up my seat. I thought, what the heck am I looking at? I go to lean to my right again, to lean off that, to lean on the passenger seat, look out that window again, and this face is in my passenger window. About 3.5 to 4 feet away is a huge head. The entire face is lit up. It's like its feet are back by the Cadillac, and it's bent at the waist and cocking its head to its left, looking at me through my passenger window. Its head was about at a 45-degree angle, by the way. I'm looking at this face. Guys, there's no hair on this face. I'm looking at 100% human eyeballs. I'm astounded. I'm looking at this human, which is not human. It's a big face. No hair. Black hair, no hair on the face. Black hair on top of the head. I can see the snow glisten off the shoulders. It had a nose like Basil Rathbone.
Bigfoot Society will be right back after these messages.
That's the first thing I really thought, even before the human eyes. I thought, this thing kind of knows like Basil Rathbone. I myself, I got a long, skinny nose. Scots Irish. And I'm looking into the eyes of this thing, and the eyes are intense, like, I do not want you here. Then I go down from the nose to the teeth. It's baring its teeth, where the corners of your mouth is like pulled back as far as they can, like a dog does when it's baring its teeth at you. I can see every tooth in this thing's mouth, man. This cat had dental work that would have made any dentist proud. I could see molars. I saw bicuspid. Every single tooth was there. The biggest snarl on his face you could ever want to see. And it had canines top and bottom. The top ones were long. The bottom ones were naturally shorter. I'm looking at this thing in its eye. It's looking at me. I'm staring back at it. It's not moving its eyes from my eyes. And we're staring at each other. And I'm telling you, I stared for a good 2.5, maybe 3 minutes till I finally realized, I better check my rearview mirror, see if someone's coming. I straightened up my seat, checked the rearview, no one's there. This happened 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, and I leaned to my right a little bit to look into the eyes of this thing. I'm telling you, if I didn't get a 5 to 7 minute look at this thing, then I got an 8 to 10 minute look. We stared at each other in the eyes intently. I mean, it seemed like, I say, 5 to 7 minutes. And I moved my hand one time towards the radio to see if it would take its eyes off of my eyes, and it did. It glanced at my hand. When I brought my hand back, it went right back to my eyeballs. Man, this thing was giving me the most hateful look you could ever imagine. The size of this face was like the size of a pillow. If you like to cut the 4 corners off of the pillow, this face was humongous, guys. And I'm telling you, it was not eye shine. The entire face was lit up equally. And I remember the skin looked to be like a tan leathery, like a light baseball mitt. Okay, my time to get ready, and I'm going to stop here and continue just. Oh, fantastic. Dave McFadden here, Clark County, Springfield, Ohio. I just finished telling you about Enid, Ohio, the milkshake, the railroad tracks, the big face, no hair on the face, black hair on the head. I ended up staring into its eyes for about 5 to 7 minutes. A car eventually did come from behind me. I saw it turn the corner coming towards me. I pulled out there rather quickly, and I'll never forget the car coming up from behind me. This car had to have seen that thing because it was only like a few seconds before it was on my tail. And it gets behind me, and it's only behind me for a half a second. This car whips around me and nails it going down Snyder Road. I'll never forget that. I'm going to go into a sighting I had. It was in 1987, Urbana, Ohio, about 10 miles from Springfield, north of Springfield. And I was working at Buckles Motors. We had a Christmas party sometime during Christmas in 1987. I believe it was right before Christmas. I left about 2:30 in the morning. It's snowing outside. It's December. And I'm just accelerating from leaving Urbana from like a 35-mile zone to a 50-mile-per-hour zone. And the snow was on the ground, so it was slick, so I wasn't going to go much more than 40. Just as I get about to 40 miles per hour, ahead of me, about 30, 40, maybe 50 yards, a little less, this deer from my left to my right, young deer, comes sprinting across the highway. I'm talking full speed. I mean, this thing, shoom, like a flash of lightning. And I immediately go to my brakes thinking, what the heck? And it was a deer. It was a deer. And after I come to my brakes, it's slowing down a little bit to think, man, that thing was flying. I wonder what I was doing that for. To my left, about 15 feet off the road, come 2 adult deer. It would look to be like a male with a rack and then a slightly smaller female. I'm thinking like a mom and dad. It stopped about 15 feet from the road. I've pretty much now come to a stop. And it's to my left. And it looks to its left, these 2 deer do. And to its left come a baby deer. And I'm telling you, it's the smallest deer I've ever seen in my life. This baby deer is trotting across the road at no hurry whatsoever. I mean, this thing was in no hurry. It was like a slow trot, 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 trot. Immediately, right on the tail of that baby deer, while the two adults are still standing there, is this small black furry thing. And I'm telling you, it was a baby Bigfoot. I didn't know at the time because I wasn't Squatch conscious. It was 1987, December. This young Squatch was like on all fours, and its nose was almost touching the tail of the baby deer, and the baby deer was in no hurry whatsoever. And they slowly trot across the road. That was like 1001, 1002, 1003. It's in front of me now. 1004, 1005 was off the road. Then the two adult deer mosey out in front of me. They're in no hurry. They actually hesitated in front of my car. Then they finished walking across the road. They were in no hurry. I'm telling you, that baby Squatch nose was almost touching the tail of that baby deer, which was in no hurry whatsoever. It seemed to be playing like follow the leader, the Squatch was. The adults were not concerned. That was 87. I remember driving away thinking, what the heck did I see? That was weird. Well, that same area is an area I used to bike into. I started biking in 2009. I retired at the age of 50. June, I started biking, riding a bike, bought me one. Started biking more and more miles. Finally, I found myself biking from Springfield out into the county towards Urbana. I eventually made it almost to Urbana. Now, this time that I'm talking now, we went from June to September. The reason I started biking more and more later at night, which was now nighttime, was because it was so darn hot. I'm 50-some years old, and the later I started leaving the house, the later I started biking. Finally, I started biking in the evening time. I find myself out by Route 55 in Urbana. It's about 10:15 at night. It's first week of September. I stopped to urinate. I just eaten. No, I stopped to urinate first. I just take a step to my left. I'm off the bike now. I take a step from the path onto the grass, which is about 10 to 15 feet from the concrete. You have grass. You have 10 to 15 feet of grass, and you have a line of bushes. It's like small trees and bushes all the way down the path. There's also this heavily wooded area, which is to my left, and I'm looking at, which is located across a cornfield. Cornfield is about 75 to 100 feet wide. So about 100 yards away, you get this big wooded area. It's not big. It's rectangular shape, and it sits up kind of high. And I'm thinking, man, that looks scary. But it wasn't big, and there are houses there because there's farms there. Well, as soon as I take this step from the concrete onto the grass, up above me to my right, I hear a rock coming through the bush from the trees above. Thunk, thunk, thunk. It lands to my left about 10 feet away. I'm thinking, got to be kids. Okay, my time to get ready to stop here. I'm going to finish in just a second. But yeah, this went on. I'll finish it up here. Okay, David here. I was telling you about the Springfield, Urbana area. I left off where the rocks were being thrown at me for 3 years up by Route 55 in Urbana. Near that same area, just a mile or two back south, there's a place called Cedar Bog. It's actually a fen. It's small, and there was a time in 77 that I was, New Year's Eve 1977, I was playing kissy face with my girlfriend out at Cedar Bog in the parking lot, and the windows are all steamed up. And she practically throws me off. Her says, "There's a great big guy in a fur coat walk right by the car." I said, "What?" She said, "A great big guy in a white fur coat walk by the car." Remember, the windows steamed up. I'm looking, I don't see nothing. And I'm an 18-year-old dude. I want to keep making out, And she wasn't the type to throw me off of her, believe me. But this happened again about 7, 8, 10 minutes later. She throws me off of her. There it goes again. I said, "Pam, stop it. Come on, man. What are you doing this for?" And she was a drama queen anyway, it turns out. But she ends up, about a minute of us going back and forth, she ends up leaning into the front seat, squeaking, taking the back of her hand and squeaking the fog off the windshield. I looked through my front windshield, and going into the woods, the last step and a half, I seen this great big tall hairy thing with white fur on it. Matted fur, kind of dirty. I saw like his last step and a half, and I said, well, I'll be darned. And I said, we better get out of here. So we got out of there. That's Cedar Bog. Well, I read on like North American Bigfoot website that another couple had the exact same thing happen to them. Big hairy white Bigfoot, big fur coat, they said, and they saw it walk by, and they were playing kissy face out at Cedar Bog. Cedar Bog is also the same general area where I had left the Urbana Christmas party in 87 and had the several deer cross the path, the one with the baby deer trotting across with the baby Bigfoot right on his nose. Let me see, where was I going to go with this? Oh, I ended up going on my bike, on the bike path, 2013, didn't have any more rocks on it because there were people in the woods having a picnic. I went back 2 or 3 more times between 2013 and 2017. Nothing happened until 2017. I'm out there again late at night. Don't remember exactly what time it was. I'm Squatch conscious now. And I started hearing from my left across in that wooded area, a big whistle, starting real low and going real high. Like, well, it was longer than that. It lasted a good 10 seconds maybe. It did it like 7 or 8 times. And I remember trying to imitate the whistle, but I couldn't do it. I tried to do my own whistle, and I think I ended up like doing like instead of like a wood knock, I take the palm of my hands and I go like that, making like a pop sound. And it did it like 7 or 8 times. I don't think it was answering me. It may have been, but I got ready to leave out of there. And I forget what time it was. It was definitely dark and late at night, and I don't remember the exact month. I got ready to put my right leg over that bicycle seat. And right above the area where those rocks were being thrown to me for those 3 years comes a softball-sized white orb. It comes down does an S-curve and stops about 3 to 4 feet away from me, above my head to my left. I looked at it. It's like bouncing. I reached up with my left hand to take a hold of it. It bounced up and away about a foot. Bounced up a couple more times and zipped away the same way that it came. True story, guys. I've never seen an orb before in my life. Softball-sized white. That actually happened. I reached up for it. It bounced up about a foot and away, bounced, and then zipped away. And I got the heck out of there, and I ain't been back there since. But I was going to try and go into another one. I was working at a major pizza place. I worked from 1999 until 2009. Remember I told you I retired in 2009? Well, this was in March of 2009. I retired in June. In March, we have an area called Lower Valley Pike. On either side of Lower Valley Pike is Mad River and Buck Creek. They're not real big, but they're on either side of this area. This area is just outside the city of Springfield on the west side. I come down the hill, go past the house, which turns out to be the house I'm supposed to deliver a pizza to. It's 11:30 at night. The pizza's already tried to be delivered by a rookie. He couldn't find it, so the veteran here in his 10th year going to try and deliver his pizza. So it's already a little bit late. I ain't got time to mess around. I go past the house, go down to a grassy area at the other end of this house, at the other end of the big yard. It's a big yard that actually used to have horses out in front of it. I stop, turn left into this grassy area, which is facing this house. I'm checking my map just to make sure it's got addresses on, just to make sure I've got the right area. Yep, that's the area I need to go to. I go to back out. I've got my engine car running, and my lights are straight ahead. My lights are hitting this fence, this big fence that's in front of this yard I'm supposed to go to, but I go down to the other end. Okay, man, I'm getting ready to end here. But I'll finish up here in just a second. Okay, Dave here. I was just telling you about the Lower Valley Pike. I'm delivering the pizza. I stopped, checked the map. The Lower Valley Pike connects to Snyder Road. Snyder Road is the road I told you about where I stopped on the railroad tracks, stirring a milkshake, squats appears in my passenger side Cadillac window, same area. Lower Valley Pike, stop, check the map. I go to back up, and my headlights are shining on this fence, which it's a big, tall, like a horse farm fence. I see in my headlights, just as I back up, I see this, and I'm looking through a tree, looking through a couple of small trees. I see this thing stand up. I see a man-like figure.
Bigfoot Society will be right back after these messages.
That's the area I'm looking at. I'm looking at it, and I see this huge knee come up. Left knee had come up. This thing and remember, I've just backed up, and now my headlights are pointing on the road. This thing, that big knee comes up, and this thing takes 1, 2, 3, 4 steps in front of my car. It angles from far away to my car to in front of my car. It passed in front of my car, probably 25, 35 feet in front of me, maybe. Guys, I saw this thing go about 4 steps. It went about 40, 45 yards in 4 steps. I'm telling you, this thing, I got the snapshot of it as it passed right to my headlights. And I still got the same car, and the driver's side headlight points up slightly. I'm telling you, this thing was every bit of 10 feet tall. If it was not 10 feet tall, then it was 10 and a half to 11 feet tall. I'm telling you, the strides on this thing were, 15-yard strides. I see that big left knee come up, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's across the road and into these people's backyards. It passed from my right to my left. I got that snapshot as it passed right in front of my car. That headlight's pointing up. This thing, I could see the sweep of the thigh. As it goes in front of my car, I can see the left knee was up, and the right leg was striding backwards. It had its head turned to the right so that I could not see its face. I could see that. I got that snapshot right in front of my car, man. I'm telling you, it was 10 feet tall. I swear to you, man. I didn't tell anyone when I went back to the shop, man. I didn't know what I'd seen. Remember, it's 2009. I'm not Squatch conscious yet. I didn't become Squatch conscious till 2013, March. But that's a true story, man. I want to back up. Remember I told you about the rocks being thrown at me out Route 55 Urbana, and also that same general Urbana area where I was on the road coming back from the Christmas party 1987, Buckles Motors, and that the deer crossed in front of me, the little baby one with the baby squatch with his nose touching his tail. Same general area. Cedar Bog, by the way, small, thin. It has water surrounding it, and that water stays at a constant 54 degrees year round, no matter what the temperature is. No matter how bad the weather is, it stays at that 54 degrees. It's got that underground spring coming up. That's a true story about that, man. But yeah, that thing was 10 feet tall that passed in front of me. I swear to you. Let me see if I can go into that same Snyder Road area. There's a ball field. That's a ball field where Snyder and Upper Valley actually meet. It's called the County Roads, the County League area. No lights. I'm playing in a league out there. It's late league, August. I forget the year. I want to say like 1989, 1991. These dudes from Urbana who worked for a good factory called Drackett recruited me to play ball for them. I was actually a pretty darn good ball player. God bless me in that area. And I'm thinking maybe if I play ball with these guys, maybe I get a job at Drackett. You know, I'm not a real highly trained dude. So we're out there. I go to run from first to second base. The bases are 5 feet shorter than what I'm normally used to playing for. Just as I get my speed up, I got to slow down. Ground ball to shortstop. I start to slide into second, but the shortstop bobbled the ball. I end up taking a stride into second, busted my ankle on the bag, tore ligaments badly. These Urbana dudes, man, after the game was over with, carried me about 100 yards to my car in the parking lot. I thought, man, I got to have a beer with these dudes, man. I only drink one beer. I'm a Jesus guy. We're drinking this beer. Everyone else has gone for the lot. It's dark now. There's me and two Urbana guys, and we hear this scream off to our left. This is Mrs. Snyder Road, the same area I had my car stopped on, a Cadillac. This scream was like, wow! Like the woman being murdered with a male voice. And this dude who was in front of me did the same thing back to it, but we didn't get no answer. Well, years earlier, the year was 1980, Christmas 1980. I go home with my buddy from Alabama. He lives in the Huntsville, Decatur area. I'm driving my car from New Mexico to Alabama, but I got to stop in Tennessee to drop this dude off. We stop somewhere in Louisiana to take a whiz. We go down the road, come by these houses, park in this grassy area, and that same scream that I heard years later as we're taking a whiz, wah! Same type of scream, male voice. We went, what the heck was that? And this one dude says, man, that come from your area? We said, no, it come from your area, dude. But yeah, same type of scream, same area. Okay, David here. I was just finishing up about the screams that I heard in Louisiana and in Ohio. Same identical scream, not the same area. One was in Louisiana, one was in Ohio, but the exact same scream. I mean, it almost sounded like the same Bigfoot. Obviously, it wasn't, but it was a large male, woman type of scream, a woman being murdered type of scream. But I was going to go into my very first road crossing I had. I'm taking my car. I'm in the military. Christmas break. I'm leaving Ohio, and I'm going to New Mexico, and I'm on Interstate 44. I'm either in Illinois or Missouri. I can't remember exactly where it was. I come to this area on Interstate 44 that it's way high up in the air. I'm climbing this hill thinking, man, this is a steep hill. Steepest hill I've ever climbed in an automobile. I get to the top of the hill, and it's almost being like a roller. It's almost like a roller coaster. It's in the month is it's just after January, just after New Year, 1980. Taking my car. And as I get to the top of this hill, it's almost like a roller coaster. When you go over the first hill, you almost get that stomach feeling. I'm on top of this hill, and there's this huge, long stretch of road. I bet it goes for 1.5 miles of just down the hill. And it's steep, and I'm wondering, how do these trucks negotiate this hill in inclement weather? I'm just at the top of the hill, getting ready to come in. I can see for miles. There's a cut-down cornfield on both sides of the highway. There's a huge median between the highways, like a 100-yard median, grassy area between east going and west going. I start to go down this hill, and to my right, way off on that uncut farm area on the right here, there's a deer coming as fast as it can come. And I'm thinking, man, that deer's fine. I hope nobody hits it. Is it going to keep coming this way? It keeps coming. And pretty soon I noticed behind that deer, about 30 yards behind that deer, is a big black thing on all fours. And it's hauling. And it's getting it, man. It's chasing this deer, you can tell. And I'm thinking, oh, these things are going to get run over by a car. Well, the deer gets to the road. The Squatch gets to the road. It's a Squatch all the way. Squatch gets to the road. It's been on all fours. As soon as it got to the highway, it went up on two legs. It stayed on two legs across the highway, across this big 100-yard wide median, maybe 75 yards wide, widest median I've ever seen between east and west, between highways, going opposite directions. It stays on all two, it goes from all four, stays on two legs across the highway, across my lane, all the way across the median, still on two legs, crosses the highway. Luckily, no cars hit either one of those things. As soon as it gets to the other cornfield on the left side, it goes back down on all fours. It never closed the gap between that Squatch and that deer. That Squatch never closed the gap. That deer was going full sprint, man. But that's a true story, and I'll never forget that. And I'm thinking, what the heck was that I ever see? I didn't know what to think. Like I said, I wasn't Squatch conscious until March of 2013. Let me tell you about a time when I'm spraying lawns for that Perfilon Lawn Care. I actually sprayed the West Dayton area, Huber Heights, West Dayton, rough area, and we went clear to the Indiana line and beyond Indiana. So I'm spraying in the Richmond, Indiana area, which is right on the Ohio-Indiana line. And there's county roads I hit out there. Well, there's one county road, had a house I'm spraying in. It's about 10:15 in the morning. It's real quiet out there. They've got a rectangular-shaped yard. Attached to this yard is like a Christmas tree farm, a dark wooded area, and you can see all the trees lined up. I start to spray. I go down this rectangular area. I get to the end of the fence, and right before I get to the end of the fence, I hear knock. The knock comes from straight ahead from that wooded area. I know what that knock is. I'm going, that was weird. I take a left-hand turn, just keep spraying the lawn. Knock. I hear it plain as day. It's very quiet out there. I get to the end of that side, get ready to take another left-hand turn, take a left-hand turn, knock. Go back up, take a left-hand turn, take a left-hand turn. Now I'm heading down towards that wooded area again. When I get to the wooded area again, same thing happened. Knock. Take a left, knock. Get to the end, knock. I come back around, come down one more time. This is the third and final time. I'm not near the fence now, but it did it again. Right as I got near the fence, knock. When I took the left-hand turn, no knock. When I got down to the end, no knock again. That actually happened. That's the only times I can ever recall hearing knocks. I had a bush blow up at me at my aunt's house out on Snyder Road, Springfield, Ohio, out in the county. I forget how old it was, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13 years old. All the kids are in the backyard. They got a big backyard. It's got this wooded area that divides their house and another house. It's not very wide, maybe 30 yards wide. It runs the length of their backyard, their whole house. Got a farmer's field there with a wooded area in the back there. The Frisbee goes to this area to the very end of the backyard, up by the cornfield. I go to pick this Frisbee up, and this bush blows up, like, and I jump back, and all the kids went, whoa, what was that? We all went, what the heck was that? I picked that Frisbee up and walked away real slowly, but we all forgot about it. We're kids, we're throwing a Frisbee, never forgot about it. True story. But if you just see how small that wooded area is, you'd think, man, why would a Squatch be there? I only got a few more stories to tell. I'll be done this. All right, David, I got a couple more things to say. I went to a church camp when I was 11 years old. I went like 4 or 5 times between my 11th birthday to like 17th birthday. It's down in Scioto Hills, Ohio, right down by the Ohio River, central part of the state, down by the river, down by Portsmouth, called Scioto Furnace. Good church camp, no bad counselors, no bad incidents. I had a couple of rocks thrown at me there when we were like 15 years old, but I'm going back up to when I was 11 years old. The very first time I went there, we had cabins up by the woods, and these woods surround this church camp called Scioto Hills Baptist Church Camp. And we're at the cabin up by the top. Guys' cabins are on the right. There's a lake. Girls' cabins are on the left. And all the cabins are up by the woods. We're at the furthest one by the woods. It's late at night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, 11-year-old kid. We start hearing these trash cans banging outside of our cabin. And they're banging loud. And it ends up banging against the door. Woke everybody up, woke the counselor up. The counselor goes to the door, and we're all scared kids. He slowly opens that door, peeks out, slams the door back, and puts his back against the door, and his eyes are the size of saucer plates. This looks like he's seen a ghost. And he took a couple of deep breaths, and he said, nobody move. Nobody make a sound. And he made sure the door was locked. He stood by that door as this thing was banging against the door. We could hear trash cans banging. Door would bang a couple times. This went on for about 2 or 3 minutes maybe. After the noise stopped, he waited about a good 5, 6, 7 minutes, and I got my head buried underneath the covers, man. I'm that scared. It's that loud. And the look on this counselor's face was like, man, this guy's seen something. He finally, after it quiets down, opens that door real slow, peeks his head out real slow. He doesn't see anything. He goes outside real slow. He's outside for a good 15, 20 minutes talking to other counselors. He ends up coming back in. And by this time, some of them are falling back to sleep. Other kids are just like, what the heck was that? These are good kids. And he ends up coming inside and telling us, this is the reason why. He says, I don't know what I saw. Probably a big old bear. It wasn't a bear. It was a squatch, obviously, but we didn't know at the time. But he said, this is why we tell you, do not go into these woods at nighttime or even in the daytime either, because we don't know what's out there. That's a true story, guys. 11 years old. When I was 15 years old, we were coming down from the cabins about 10:15 at night. We went up to get our table tennis rackets. We're the only ones up there. We come back down. As we're coming down the hill, a rock comes flying in from the woods. The very next night, the exact same thing happened. Go up to get our table tennis rackets. A rock comes in. Dude turns around. My buddy turns around and says, quit throwing rocks at us. We took a couple more steps down the hill. A second rock comes in. But that actually happened. Rock on one night, 2 rocks on the next night. When we were 15 years old. When I was 11 years old was when we had the incident with the banging trash cans and the counselor was going, don't go outside. But that actually happened. I'm trying to think if there's other little stuff that's happened in my life. There was an incident down in Kentucky when I was 14 years old. My parents were on like a tour of places, people that they hadn't seen for years. I'm 14 years old. They took me along. My sister stayed home. They were grown up by then anyway. They were like 5 and 10 years older than me. They were sitting on the front porch of this house. The house, I noticed, has bushes that are right up against the right side of the house. I'm sitting on the front porch by the bush area that my parents are at the other far end of this long porch talking to my relatives. And I hear this bush blow up next to me. I hear this like that. Man, I got away from that thing. And the adults barely heard it. They looked that way. And I said, hey, Aunt so-and-so, what was that? Probably some big old bear out there. We got them around here sometimes. But that actually happened. But a couple of times we did go to Kentucky. They told us, man, do not go into the woods at night. I said, okay, we'll go in the daytime. They said, no, we don't go into the woods at daytime either. I said, well, why? They said, well, there's stuff around here. We really don't know what it is. And they didn't elaborate or go into it because I was only like 7, 8, 9 years old at the time. But I'll never forget that. And there may be another thing or two that may have happened in my life, squatch related, but I've hit on all the big ones that I can remember. Like I said, I was the guy who had a slew of things happen and didn't know what the heck was going on. Real good conservative family. I wouldn't never bash my conservative background, but they always taught me that there's no such things in the woods. There's no ghosts. There's no this. There's no that. So I always believed them. So when all this stuff was happening, I didn't know what to tell anybody. And I'm a real quiet kid anyway, man. I may be talkative now, but all my life I've been shy and quiet until I hit my 30s and 40s, and now I got something to say. But I always thought that if I tell my parents or my sisters, they're just going to, oh, shut up, that never happened, blah, blah, blah. And I always thought that when I get older, I'll be much older now. They'll listen to me now. Well, now I'm older, and they still don't want to hear it. Wonderful family. My parents are dead, obviously, but my older sisters don't want to hear it, man. And they're good Christian people. But I'm so glad to have this outlet to tell you this, that you can hear my voice and realize that I'm not lying, man. So I think that's all I got, guys. I really appreciate this outlet. Thank you very much.
Here at Bigfoot Society, our goal is to provide a platform for those that have encountered Bigfoot to share their encounter in a safe and respected environment. But we need to hear your story. If you've experienced something that you just can't explain, please send me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Then we can start the conversation. I know a lot of you have not shared your encounter at all. It's been 20 years, and it's time that you get this off your chest, and then you can get some well-deserved rest, because I know you haven't been sleeping. I understand what you're going through, and I appreciate every one of you listening. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. If you've had any encounters in Oregon, which I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there, please feel free to reach out immediately. You can use email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.